Good morning and welcome to this December the 10th version of Sunrise to Sunset with Pastor Gene. The next two episodes that we're going to have really close out the end of chapter 2 and the beginning of chapter 3. And they're dealing with episodes that I'll just say Sabbath issues. There's two Sabbath issues that I want to talk about here at the end of chapter 2 and the beginning of chapter 3. So hear the lesson from Mark 2, 23 through 28. One Sabbath he was going through the grain fields, and as they made their way, the disciples began to pluck heads of grain. The Pharisees said to him, "Look, why are they doing what is not lawful on the Sabbath?" There's a why question again. And he said to them, "Have you never read what David did when his companions were hungry and in need of food? He entered the house of God when Abiathar was high priest and ate the bread of the presence, which it is not lawful for any but the priests to eat, and he gave some to his companions. Then he said to them, the Sabbath was made for humankind, not humankind for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord, even of the Sabbath." Now, by the time we get to this event in the life of Jesus, it's important for us to remember that there were strict laws in place, very strict laws in place, very strict traditions in place, and they were all designed to protect the Sabbath. Why would you need to protect the Sabbath? Well, because all kinds of other things might happen that would distract from observing the time of celebrating God's creative genius and making the world and creative love and sustaining the world and creative presence being with us in the Spirit. So the religious leaders through the centuries had developed all of these traditions and all of these practices because they wanted to protect the sacred nature of the Sabbath. I remember when I was a boy, the stores were not open in Roanoke Rapids. In fact, the only store that you could find open, there was one drugstore. I think there were like 3 or 4 drugstores at that time, but only one drugstore was open on Sunday, and that was because in case somebody needed medicine, everything else was shut down. There was no the stores. You couldn't go into a toy store. You couldn't go into any other store on Roanoke Avenue. You couldn't go to any of them because Sunday was considered the Sabbath, and those blue laws protected distraction from things on the Sabbath. So here's Jesus going and his disciples out, and here they are on the Sabbath, and they're plucking grain, and they get questioned about it. So Jesus introduces these folks who raised the question about it. He reminds them of what David had done, but then he introduces them to a concept that there is something more important than the Sabbath. Now you're probably going, "Oh, preacher, I can't believe you just said that." Well, let me put it to you this way. Are there any things that you know of in your life, or maybe in the life of someone you know, that have been made more important than the Sabbath? Think about it. What has been made more important than the Sabbath? Well, let me put it another way. Has anything in your life or the life of someone you know become more important than Jesus? Let me ask you something on this December the 10th. What if we only had 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, to rearrange our priorities and rearrange our understanding of kingdom work and what kingdom work was. What if we just had 2 weeks? Whoops. 2 weeks from today is Christmas Eve. So maybe I slipped you into that way of thinking because I want you to start thinking about, well, what is more important than Jesus? Is it some tradition or practice or something that has gotten in the way of what's being and keeping Sabbath really is? I want us to remember what Jesus said when he said the Sabbath was made for humankind, not humankind for the Sabbath, and the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath. So the things that we think are most important, nothing's more important than Jesus. And I guess Mark really did know that we might not have as much time as we think we have to rearrange our priorities and to get ready, because Christmas is just 2 weeks away. So let's get busy and stay busy and be ready from sunrise to sunset.